Welcome everyone. This is a very special video for me because you're going to get to see my thought processes. We are working out of several books from Maremi's Small Art. These are all her books. Now I've done a video which does show you page by page all her artwork and all her books. And I know you guys are a little bit close to see this good. But you get an idea of some of her artwork in the books. And currently I have, counting this one, I have 6 of her books. This is not by any means the exhaustive grouping of all of her books and her rice papers, things like that. Now, her rice papers you can find on her website, in her store. They're not quite on Amazon yet, but these books are on Amazon. And I have provided a link to these books in the previous video in which I showcased page by page her beautiful artwork. But we're going to be doing a page, and as you can see here, some of the elements that I've got, I've already taken the time to fussy cut these elements so that you guys would not have to sit here and watch me fussy cut all these elements. So I did do some pre-work and some pre-choosing on some elements, but you're going to get to see me do some more cutting, some more choosing, and my thought process behind why I chose what I chose and what I am trying to accomplish. So let's get into it. So I've got a main focal point here that I chose because of its purples. My main focus was this little girl right here. I just love the expression on her face. She's looking back. The original page had some dreamy looking woods with some music notes in the background and some text, things like that. As you can see, the music notes here are somewhat on the image. You can see the music notes right through here. But what I wanted to do was isolate her so I could blend her with other images better. Now, there are other blending techniques that you can use if you use other media such as paint, such as rice papers, things like that. But when I blend with a stack of images, stacked in such a way that they actually look like they're part of the collage, that they hide the seams, they hide the edges, but yet they look like they're coming out from off the edge of the page. So I'm going to show you these techniques and a few others that I'm going to use. You're also going to get to see me do something that, if it works, it's going to be beautiful. If it fails, you're going to get to see that too. So I'm going to be adding animals inside the image of this little girl's jacket. Yes, that's what I said. So you're going to get to see how I accomplish that with just the image that you see here. And it's a real easy technique that you can use to incorporate images into an already artistic image that you see on the page. You can add to it, you can manipulate it, you can insert images, that kind of thing. So sometimes you want to add to what you already see. And everything that we use here is going to be from Marta's books. Okay, so we've got these images that we're going to use. You're going to see me cut off some of the edges. So in my choosing, I wanted to choose colors that went well with this little girl right here. She's got some oranges, some rust, some sage green, some tans and pinks. But pink is not the main focal point. Even in her cheeks, the pink has a little bit of a peachy color to it. Her eyes are a light green. So she goes with these images here. I chose the butterfly because the colors here are some of the main colors here. You have a few bluish tones, but they don't take away from the fact that they go really well with that little girl's colors. You see some of these colors in the tree branch. So when I was selecting, I was looking for a butterfly that went well with these colors and also went well with these colors. And these are the little animals we're going to insert. And I'm going to show you how I do that. Now, a complementary color that I wanted to use with orange, most people would go towards a pink or a red, but purple is a perfect complement to orange and green, as you can see. You see how the purple just pops with the oranges and the greens? Its exact opposite is on the color wheel. So you can see that the purple goes really well with those oranges. So on a color wheel, you're going to notice that blues and purples go well with oranges. And you're going to see other colors too that have their opposites. Blue and yellow go well together because they're really complementary. Red and green are exact opposites, believe it or not. So we've got these elements, and you're going to get to see me play with how I'm going to place them on the page. Now, let's look at this little girl here. She's got a hoodie on. She's got the hood that gapes here and has a second gape here. But what you're going to see me do is I'm going to insert this little bunny rabbit into her hood as if he's coming up out of her hood. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to take this little fox and I'm going to insert him into her arm so it looks like she's holding him, but I'm going to do it in such a way that his tail extends outside the back of her arm. And I'm going to show you how I do that too. So this is a tutorial on how to build a page, but also how to creatively play with your elements and such that they weren't meant to be that way to begin with. But that's the beauty of being creative, is taking something that was meant as something else and turning it on its head and making it something that it wasn't intended to be. So we're going to actually do that. So the first thing I'm going to do to get this little guy to come up out of her hood and be looking at her, you can see he's actually looking at her. Okay. And she's looking off this direction. she's going to be looking at the woodpecker. So when you're looking at your images, notice where they're looking so that you can use a focal point that matches their eye line. And then it makes the story come to life. Okay, so we'll do the little fox in a minute. We're going to focus on getting him to pop out of her hood. So what I'm going to do first is I don't want him coming out of this gape right here. It's too shallow. Nobody's going to believe that a full rabbit can come out of this portion right here. But this portion here is very deep, as you can see. So it makes more sense that he would be coming up out of this portion of her hood. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut the hood and I'm kind of wiggle cutting. It's not a technical term, but I'm cutting it in such a way that I can get him on the other side to come up through her hood. It's as easy as that. So all I did was make this cut right here, and he actually looks like he's coming out of her hood. And all he is just slipped in through the back. So let's see how far we want him to come up. That's a decision you do have to make, because again, he's a tall guy. So we want to see how he's gonna look. I don't want him like this, because I want to see more of him. And in looking at him, I see a little sharpness to his face that I want to actually adjust. Okay, there we go. He had a sharp angle to him that when I was fussy cutting, I think I probably cut the corner a little bit too short. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and glue him right there. I think that's a good, so it almost looks like she's also looking at the rabbit coming up out of her hood. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this over and I'm going to go ahead and glue him in place so that I know he's not gonna move. And we're gonna do the same thing to the little fox in her arm. And I'm gonna show you something too. Let's see. Let's get him right where I want him. Not too close to her eyes. Okay, just like that. That looks good. So these are things you can do to play with your papers, to play with your images. And now he's actually coming out of her hood. It wasn't created that way or drawn that way. So Marta, I hope you enjoy that. I hope it doesn't offend you. Okay, because these are Marta's images. But she does give us license and tells us to play all the time. Play with it, manipulate it, make it your own. Okay, now this little guy is going to be held by her, but he's gonna come out the back of her arm. So in order to make that look like that's something we want, I'm gonna have to cut the back of her arm to get him to come out. And what I'm gonna do is slip him and his tail. And I may have to cut a little bit more, yeah, because he's a little bit bigger than I expected. So I'm gonna cut this. And when I glue it down, you won't be able to see the cut. You're just gonna see him coming out like she's holding him. I'm trying to get his tail. His tail, okay, here's another thing. His tail is not coming out like I want it to, right? So I'm gonna have to cut the tail. Yes, you heard me right. I'm gonna have to cut the tail. So I've gotta be strategic here, otherwise I'll ruin the image. Okay, I'm gonna leave it just a little bit attached. I'm gonna actually cut this from his feet so that it's actually separate. Okay, so you see how the tail is separate? Okay, now watch. As we put him through her arm, we're gonna slightly tug a little bit. I'm gonna have to really push that through. So I'm gonna cut this because it's not wanting to come through. Cut this just a little bit more. Okay, little foxy, give me your tail. Okay, I'm gonna put the tail through just like that. Okay, and then twist it, and then pull him back up. So there he is in her arms. Okay, so she's actually carrying him, but you can see him plus his tail hanging down. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and glue him to her arm. So you see how her arm is bent in such a way that you can get away with it looking like she's carrying him. Okay, this is our world and we can do whatever we want with it. Okay, so she's carrying Mr. Fox, Mr. Baby Fox. Okay, so there she is. We've got the animals attached to her. Now what I want to do is I want to get some of these other images. I know I want him in the background because I'm eventually going to try and do the mushrooms over top of him. See, the purples and the reds go really well together. And the red's an orangey red, which ties in these colors. So I'm gonna clip that just like that so I can see what it's gonna look like. May want to pull him out because I don't want him totally hidden by the mushrooms. Okay, and this butterfly, was wanting to go right behind her. I've got these guys right here. Let's see if that looks good on top of that. And then put her on top. Okay. And then I've got this beauty that I want to do something like that. Now we've got some sharp edges here that look very intrusive. So what I want to do, because we've got this sharp edge here too, you notice how these images overlapping cover up other sharp edges. So if you're not going to blend with another media such as paint or stains or anything like that, then you're going to want to cover these hard edges. If you notice, I did rip this edge right here, which makes it a lot easier on the eye because it is a curved image. You see how this is torn? This is cut. So let's see what happens if I put that there. It gets rid of that hard edge and makes it beautiful. It blends. But I'm not crazy about him being covered up so much by those mushrooms. So I may take this hard edge here and leave it that way. Now these hard edges here I want to cover. So let's see if we can find a flower. And again, we're using all of Marta's images to see if I can make it work. Okay. So I'm gonna look for a flower that's complementary to these. So let's see if I don't want to go for pink. I'm gonna leave this here so you can see the color side by side and see why I'm not choosing certain colors. The pink is soft and it's beautiful, but it's not the direction I want to go. I want a flower that's going to make these images pop. I don't want just a flower, any old flower. Look, the blues, they can go with orange, but the purple changes things. This blue looks out of place. I don't want it to look out of place. I want it to be complementary to these images. The pinks, again, this red, we've got some red, but it's too bright. It's too much. It then becomes the focal point, and I don't want it to be. Here we have some whites, and we have a pink image down here. No. See how the pink, it doesn't have enough contrast to really make the image come alive. And I want the image to come alive. The whites are not going to do it either. They're too bland. Here's a purple. That might work. But then we have purple, purple, purple. That's too much purple. So, okay. What are we gonna do? There's some more red. Not wanting red. There's blue. Blue is clashing right now. We don't want the blue. There's some whites. Here's some burgundy colors, but it's still too pink. Yeah, not wanting the pink. The pinks and the oranges I don't like together. Not for this composition. Here's some peachy pinks. You could get away with that, but look how it blends. It almost disappears. I don't want it to disappear. This has got a little bit too much red for my liking. Okay, now we're talking. Now we're talking. Do you see what that image does? Do you see what that color does? Nowhere in this image do you see burgundy. But yet when you lay it beside these colors, because there's a lot of purple, then boom, it comes alive. So I'm thinking to put this image over these to hide these sharp edges and make the whole composition come alive. This one's probably not big enough. I want that big girl right there. So you're gonna see me fussy cut her. So that's the one I wanna use. So I'm actually going to tell you what, I'm gonna make it easy. I'm gonna tear this page out in its entirety to make things easier rather than trying to cut out of a book. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this girl out around these petals, and I'm gonna put her right there. Do you see how that changes things? I love it. I think it's beautiful. Okay, so let me do that. And you guys feel free to tell me in the comment section what you liked, if there's anything you didn't like, any ideas for future videos. And I thank you for spending time with me here today and watching me through this thought process. Every composition that I create, I go through this. You don't always see it because I keep it off camera. There are times where an image of a journal page takes me 3 days to create. I go through all of my things. I look for elements that complement, that make it pop, that make it cohesive. And then when I think I might be okay with it, because I don't want to just be okay with it. Okay, now here's something fascinating. This is where your creative process takes over. I don't want this to be cut off, to be squared off. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a creative pathway and I'm gonna make my own point in that petal. And there it is. I made the point so that it's not too squared off, like it's cut off. So no one's ever gonna know that that was actually a petal that's cut off by the edge. So these are things that you can do. If you don't like the shape of something, change it. That's the beauty of scissors, is you can, if you want the petal more wavy, make it more wavy. And I have a kitty cat who's wanting my attention. As you can hear him in the background. That's Oscar. Yes, I'm being very particular about how I cut this, because I want no white edge, and I want her artistry to come forth as much as possible. Okay, so I'm gonna go down here now alongside the stem. Now I may end up putting this stem off the page, which is most likely. So I'm gonna go ahead and snip it right here so that I can use the rest of this for another journal. So I don't want to totally destroy the image. Now this is where fussy cutting can get very meticulous, where you want to get all the white off, and you've got to go inside and in between branches and stems and leaves. And I'm going to try to do just that because I want to get that part out of there. So fussy cutting can be very challenging. See, now I want to get that out. And I have a pair of really tiny, what's called manicure scissors that have really tiny blades. And sometimes I will go after those in order to get these pieces out from a really tiny area. Okay, so this is still hooked, so I'm going to unhook it. I'll use the rest of this page for another journal. Okay. So now I'm wanting to get that out of there. And sometimes you have to go back behind it. Okay. It's still got too much white in there. So you're gonna see me start to just snip it away. Now there are times where I've taken a pen of a complementary color and did that over the image to cover over that white area. Okay, I'm gonna get that off. Okay, let's see how that's looking. It's still got a squared off piece. Okay. That's gonna go right about there. Now, let's look at this, because this has a straight edge. So, that's something we may deal with at a later point. But I want to get some of this glued down so that we can see how it's going to be looking. So, I'm going to start with Mr. Woodpecker. I want to get him into that corner. And let's move these elements so I don't get glue on them. let's get him situated. I hope everybody's having a good day, a good Saturday or Sunday, wherever you are in the world. It may be nighttime wherever you're at. The color and saturation of these images is just so amazing. She's done such a really good job on her artwork. And I'm so thankful that she's decided to put these books out for us to have these images that I have never seen anywhere. Okay. So we've got, so this is a decision I'm going to make. This white area here is covering over part of that tree, and I'm not liking that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this away in such a way that you can see more of the tree, and then the image blends better with that other one. So you see the fluted edges of this mushroom? Rather than me going in between every single minute crack and crevice, I'm doing what I call a wiggle cut. It's not following the exact line of the gills of the mushroom, but it will be wiggle cut. And no, that is not a technical term, so don't come at me. It's going to be done in such a way that you can see that that's got a fluted edge of sorts. So you may not see this right away when you're cutting the images. You may see it after. And as you're putting these collages together, these art journals, you get to make these decisions like, I don't like the way that's sticking out. I don't like the way that's presenting on the page. And I'm actually going to follow the line of these leaves because I love these leaves. They're so pretty. And I'm just going to cut out the music part of it. Okay. So this is a good scrap. It's got music, it's got bars on it, music notes. I'm going to say that is a good scrap for another journal. Now look what that did. I'm going to put it back so you can see. There it was in the original. And that's what it does when you remove it. Do you see how that really takes it to a whole nother level? Okay. So that's our mushrooms and our woodpecker together. So I'm going to go ahead and put down our mushrooms. I'm happy with that. Now this edge right here is popping up, but I actually like it popping up because it adds a three-dimensional quality to it. You see how these, you can just pop them and they pull up and they make it look like they're a little bit in the foreground from Mr. Woodpecker. It adds a dimensional quality to it that really brings your page to life rather than being just flat, having them get the ability to actually pop up, except this guy I don't want popping up. Okay. Now when we add our flower, that's about what we're gonna see. So this edge, this sharp edge that I'm not liking, is gonna be covered up. So do you see how even in that, leaving these petals unglued, and I may even cut this one so that this can pop forward, leaves it looking like it's coming off the page. Okay. So we'll look at that once we decide to put that down. There's our girl with her animals, and she's holding her fox and her bunnies coming up. Okay. So we've got the little girl. Now, what you want to do is you want to also place your images as they would be to make sure you're going to have room and that everything's going to look exactly as you want it to. So I'm going to put this right behind her and see what that does. And then I'm going to also pop the butterfly back here to add another dimension. Now I don't want him being off the page because I don't want his ears cut. I want those beautiful ears to be on the page. So I've got to have her at least like that. Okay. The butterfly can move over just a tad. And then this becomes a beautiful background for that butterfly. Then we've got this guy right here. Now what I can do is I can pop him back here. Let's see what that does. That pops this right here, which really complements that orange, but then it hides Mr. Bunny. Okay, so do I then want to move this over to here? And I can have that coming out like that. That's something I could do. Now, this flower is gonna hide this edge here that I wanna hide. But you see the straight line? I'm not liking that. So I could hide that straight line behind her. But then I have this straight line. It's very not too pleasant. So let's see. Do I want to put her down at the bottom so her straight line here is not so obtrusive? And I think I do. Which means I want to bring this flower down because I want him to be seen. I'm going to push this down. And pull that up. And push this up and over to the side a little bit more. Now I can cut these petals in such a way that it looks like an actual petal. But the problem is that I don't know that I can actually get away with that without making it look wonky. Because then I'd have to cut this one. And that would make it look odd because the flower is so big. I could get away with cutting this along here. But I don't want to sacrifice the shape of the flower and make it look like it's something I truly manipulated. So now I've got a conundrum. What do I want to do? I think she looks better behind the flower. But it's this sharp edge that I'm not liking. So this is something I have to think about. Now, while I'm thinking about that, I'm gonna take care of this because I don't like this white edge right here, but I don't want it to be sharp. I want to actually tear it. So I'm gonna put my fingernail right here so it doesn't tear any more into the image than I want it to. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead, remove all of this and place this down here because I know that I want this here. So that's a definite. So let's go ahead and make that decision because I'm still bothered by the other. And sometimes you can work out a solution with a whole nother piece. If that's the route we're gonna go, then you guys are coming with me. Okay, so that's gonna go there. Now, we've got this here. I don't like this edge sticking out from underneath the flower. So in order to soften that, I have to cover it. Now, if I move this all the way down here, it looks like, oh, I've got an idea, but I'm gonna take a chance here. And you guys are gonna be holding your breath as soon as I do it, because I may get away with it and I may not. Okay. So you see, this is pretty much exactly where I want it, but I don't like this straight edge. But these petals are going to be cut off. Okay, so if I cut them off, I can attach them to the ends of these and create new petals. So this is going to be interesting. Interesting technique that I may or may not get away with. Okay, so let's see here. Let's commit to how far this petal is going to be cut off. I'm going to actually fold it so that that's my measuring line. This one, I'm going to fold it so that's my measuring line. Okay, I'm going for it, guys. You're gonna get to see if this actually works. So this is cutting it to the edge. I'm gonna cut off the stem too. Cutting it to the edge. Now we have some petals. So this is gonna go straight to the edge right there. Okay, now, can I get away with creating petals by attaching this here? And it doesn't look like it's gonna let me. But what if I do this? What if I do this? That softens the edge. It softens the edge to a point. And then it looks like this petal does belong to this. This is kind of wonky. Okay, well, we will work it out. We'll work it out. Okay, but I'm gonna keep these petals just in case I can somehow attach them and somehow make it work. Okay, so all is not lost. It's just a process. Okay. Now I'm not liking the fact that this stem is there, but if I cut it off, there's going to be a huge, let me show you what it would look like. If I cut it off, there's a huge gray gap, and I don't like that. So I'm going to leave it there. And it does look like a stem. Okay, so I'm going to put my scissors here so that will hold that in place. Okay, let's work with some of these other elements, and we will come back to this girl because we need to soften that hard edge, and we will figure out how to do it. Okay, so I'm thinking we may soften that edge with her at this edge. Okay, that works. A little purple here. Adds interest so that this guy shows up more, because look, he kind of blends into that light gray page because he's light gray, but watch what happens when I put the flower behind. Boom, he pops forward. He's suddenly a focal point. So I'm liking that. Okay, the butterfly to add interest behind her, and his little tail will go behind the flower. Her little leaf wreath on her head is popping forward, adding a dimensional quality that I like. It looks like she's in the foreground. Okay, and then I've also got this that I may or may not use. Let's see what happens if I pop this in there. It might be too much of the same thing. Okay. So I'm going to put her behind the flower. Because it makes more sense. And then the flower becomes forward. So we're actually seeing that she's behind the flower. In the background, the flower is more forward towards the onlooker. Okay. I want something behind here, unless I move the butterfly over, but it's still blank behind there. And I'm not crazy about that. So I don't think that there are any fall leaves in this particular book, but here's some sage and peach leaves that, look, it goes with our image. It's these in a larger scale. Okay, so that's fascinating. I could cut these out individually and string them along her back, which blends the two images together and makes it look like it's a creative feature. So that's something I can do. And I'm looking at also, sorry for the camera moving. I'm looking also at these purple leaves, but I think it might be too close. I wanted to add a dimensional quality that it's different. So I think those are too close. Okay. So I don't want to cover up his tail. I'm going to bring her out a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to cut out this leaf and this leaf. We'll see if I can't get that to work. Okay. So I'm going to actually tear this whole image from the book so I get and you can use your fingernail as a guide for tearing, and it will tear along that where you have your fingernail. And I'm going to tear along this edge, but I don't want it to go into that flower. Okay. Right. All right. So to make this simpler, I want something behind him here. And I've got some beautiful pieces that I've cut. Let's see what happens when I pop these behind. And I use the butterfly to cover up. Now that looks really neat. I'm liking that. That looks really neat. Okay, so we found our background. Look at that. So let's look at it without it. Boring. Let's add it. The butterfly covers up the jagged edges. And then it also is behind her and makes her stand out as well. Kind of softens. And then we've got this girl right here. We've got these leaves. And I'm just noticing that this is cut off here. So you're gonna get to see me make a creative decision. Because remember, you can disguise something from what it actually was. Okay, so you're gonna see me cut along this, and I'm wiggle cutting so it looks like you can pick up the edges of the leaf. Okay. This beautiful girl too, and let's see what that does. Now what I'm gonna do is make a creative decision to go down. To cut this section out. Come over here. I'm gonna leave that torn. Okay. So this may work, it may not. We will deal with that in a moment. When I get frustrated, I put something to the side and I look at it later. So we've got this down. We know this is gonna be beautiful back behind here. We want it to come to the edge. Now, the butterfly is going to cover up that jagged edge. These leaves are coming out, which is nice. I hate to cover up those berries. And it looks like I can get those berries to come up like that. So then we have this edge right here that we will deal with. Okay, so let's get this down, get some progress. And sometimes there's an image on the back, you just have to sacrifice it. The only other way around that is to get 2 books and use the other side for another project, sacrificing this side. Now we want our girl to be forward and the butterfly behind. Make sure his ears are not off. Okay. Then this is gonna come up like this. We've got this hard edge, which we will then deal with that beauty right there. Now you've got this hard edge here, which I'll show you how we can manipulate that to make it look softer. Okay. Let's tuck this under here, and then we have that hard edge again, and it covers up little flocks. So this is what I'm gonna do on this hard edge that I'm not liking. I'm gonna cut here. I'm gonna wiggle cut this to get rid of some of that hard edge that I'm not liking. Okay, so you see how it becomes softer? I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm gonna really wiggle cut it on purpose. And soften that edge. Okay, that becomes more acceptable. So now we don't need this. This is a little bit too much. Okay. So. Now I'm struggling right now, as you can probably see, girl in front or girl behind. And I'm still liking the girl behind. Okay. So let's go ahead and put Mr. Butterfly down. He's gonna go right about there. I love you guys coming along with me on this process so you can see what I'm struggling with, see how I work it out, see how I'm looking at things. I don't want his wings going up over the edge because he's beautiful. And there's our girl. Let's get rid of the scrap. See how he's popping up out of her arm? He now becomes three-dimensional, this guy too. If I bend him just a little bit forward, he comes up off the page and it looks like he's more 3D. When you close the book, it flattens it, but when you open it, it comes back forward again. And all you have to do to achieve that is just bend it forward. Bend him forward. And then he comes to life. Flat, and then he comes and pops back up to life. So that's something else you can do. You can also do that with his tail. His tail is separate now from his paws where he was connected. I unconnected that. Okay. So I am getting to be very happy with this collage. It is really making me happy. Okay. Ooh, look at that. I think we solved our problem, y'all. And I didn't even know it. Look at that. Takes away that edge. Really pops it because of that color there. Ooh, happy accident. Okay. Let's put our girl down where we want her. You see, when you start playing and moving stuff around, eventually you're going to come to your solution. And if not, my art teacher taught me this trick when I was in high school, long time ago. Getting ready to turn 58. So I'm going to make sure that his ears are not off that page and that she's not crooked. Okay. Okay. And she's crooked. So let's take her up and straighten her back out. And I like the idea of moving her down so that you see more of that butterfly. You see how his head is coming up from, if I glued him down, he would blend in too much. But by leaving him without being glued down, he pops up and he becomes a separate image. Okay, so let's get this beauty down. Since we struggled so much with her and her hard edges. Okay. Okay. Now, here's another part to this. See how this is popping up? I'm going to make it pop up even more. I have to put some books under my journal because it is such a large journal that if I don't, of my edge is actually way down from this part right here, because I'm getting close to the end of my journal. So you see how fat he is? I'm gonna cut this petal right here so that I can get her to pop up off the page. Now, you may not think that it matters, but I'm gonna show you how it does. So I'm gonna cut around. I'm gonna fussy cut this petal exactly as it is. And I apologize if I get my head in the camera. Now again, I'm going into some glue, so it's getting to be where it doesn't want to. Okay, so now let's look at it. And I'm gonna put these books back under. Let me line you guys back up. Okay, you see how this petal is popping up? That lends to the 3D effect. It's coming up off the page, and you can see how that's coming off right there. It just makes it look 3D, and see how he's coming up off the page. He's coming up off the page and his tail. Okay, and then her leaf crown is also coming up off the page from this butterfly behind. Okay, so we've got some three-dimensional pieces that are coming up. Okay, now I've got this edge here, this corner. I had probably should have put her closer to the edge, but that's okay that I didn't. These are things that happen. I can use, let's see what I can use to cover over that, if at all. Let's see what happens when we do this trick like we just discovered. That covers that edge perfectly. Okay. So let's do that. We know that's what we want to do. I am so appreciative of you guys being on this journey with me on working it out. Now, I've got this glue down in the middle, but these petals are popping up. Let them pop. It adds to a three-dimensional quality that you wouldn't normally have. It makes it look like it's actually in the foreground. Okay, so I'm wondering, I don't want to cover him up. And now I'm just playing. I've got some petals that I can have coming out. But do I want to do that? This one right here. I'm gonna reshape it just a little bit to make it look like an actual petal. I didn't reshape it that much. Okay, so if I tuck this in here and make it come up over here, it looks like there's a petal coming out from over there. It adds some interest. So let's see. That adds some interest there that I'm liking. So I'm gonna actually make that decision to do that. Okay, makes it look like there's another flower tucked under there trying to come out. And these are just the scraps. So I have to be strategic not to have it come out on this side, but to have it poking out enough. And then this. I'm gonna have tucked in right there. And I'm gonna have it coming up over onto this page. Like it's like, look at me, I'm here too. So it looks like there's petals of a flower right behind this. And I'm gonna make another creative decision to get rid of some of this. And that uncovers my petal that I had there. So do you see that? So in thinking that I'm solving a problem, I'm actually creating one. And that's good that you guys get to see that. So you see, that's the edge of the petal. It's already glued down, and with this guy Tombow, there's nothing you can do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this back, but in such a way that it looks like a ruffled edge. So let's see if I can't put it back exactly the way it was. Some plastic surgery. There we go. Okay. And that covers back over that petal that's coming out there. Okay. We did it. We did it. Okay, so let's look at this. This is it, y'all. I'm gonna take this clip off so you can see. And it's so fat that it doesn't want to be held. You can see all the different elements and how that flower's coming up off the page. The mushrooms, the woodpecker, our little friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I have enjoyed every minute of it. And go ahead and subscribe so I can see you back here again. And thank you. Have a good night, a good morning, or a good afternoon wherever you are.